Hello.
Hi, Sophie.
Hi, how's it going?
Things are going well. Do you have a Game of Thrones pillow behind your head?
I have more than one. I'm a bit of a geek, yeah?
Oh my God.
I don't normally have my classes in my living room, but upstairs is taken where I normally do my classes. So I have my dogs.
So, Sophie, tell us. The dogs just crept in. No, it's good. It's good. People like animals, right?
Terrify the students.
Yeah. Sophie, tell me something about you.
So I have been a teacher for over 4 years, working predominantly in Spain, giving exam preparation classes mostly, some general conversation. And I've recently returned to the UK, finished in Spain in December, and after that I was teaching skiing in Austria.
Teaching skiing?
Yeah, I'm a ski instructor as well, so I like teaching in lots of different ways.
So why did you start on italki?
I started on italki because I returned to the UK. I haven't been on it that long. I've only been on it since May. So I'm quite new to italki, not new to teaching, but new to italki. And I started because I got back to the UK. I was looking for a job. I have all this experience and all these resources and knowledge and things. And it just seems like, why am I just wasting this? So I thought, I'll get on italki. I was recommended it by a friend. And I just sort of started from there. The great thing about italki, for me anyway, is that it's one-on-one. So as the teacher, you're either playing the role of the examiner or you're playing the role of the other student in the speaking exam. To be honest, it's a really, for me anyway, it's a really great way of teaching. I've met some really interesting people, and I find also that you have the sharing page that you can have on Skype so that they can see what you're seeing. It means that I can use all of the books, all of the resources that I have, which are on my computer, and I can just share. So we're looking at exactly the same thing. Really, it's like we're in a classroom together. I taught in a language school, and so I was focusing on, my C1 classes were maximum 6 students. And obviously that has its advantages, but I would say for the student, mostly disadvantages. I think if you spoke to most students, especially preparing for an exam, they would love one-on-one, and it's simply not affordable or not possible. And italki gives people that opportunity. It gives them that one-on-one for what I consider a really, really good price for what they're getting.
From my point of view, the price seems really low, but I mean, I'm in Switzerland, so everything's really expensive. When I go to your page, it's got your picture and it's got the 5 stars, by the way. And then it's got like, I can't remember the numbers, like 100 ITC to 160.
Yeah. So what that is basically I offer a range of different classes and some packages as well, depending on the level. And what that means is that I have a lowest price, which is general conversation, where students pick a topic and build vocabulary and we talk. And then I think that my C1 classes are one of the most expensive, obviously, because there's the most planning and it's the highest level. So you would expect a teacher with reasonable experience. So that's the difference in price. It starts as general conversation all the way up to C1 level.
Okay, because you have to plan, you have to be paid for your time.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of planning that goes into the class before the class starts. And God, especially with C1, you can't be caught out. They know a lot. And yeah.
I think students sometimes don't understand that there's the time before and after the lesson. The teacher's kind of unpaid for that, right? So
I mean, it goes with the job, and you know yourself, a lesson is always better, always a lot more enjoyable when you've prepared. And obviously, you can't prepare for everything, and questions will come up that you think, okay, I haven't thought about that before, and you go away and have a think about it. But the best lessons are the ones where you've got a lot of different things going on, and you've planned it out.
Yeah. Yeah. These days I just say, oh yeah, good question, I'll tell you next week.
That's a great...
From like, let's say an hour on italki, or maybe an hour a week for 3 months or something like that, what's a realistic goal for a student?
I mean, it really depends on what their goals are. The first class that I have with the student, whether they book a trial lesson or whether they just book an out and out hour lesson, is always trying to figure out exactly what they want, which can often be a bit difficult for the student because they sometimes I want to improve my English. Okay, but there is more to that than you know, how do you improve a language? Well, you practice a language. I have a few students at the moment who are preparing for the Cambridge exams. Now, those goals, I understand. They have an exam in 2 months or 3 months, so we can prepare for that. Really, what I focus on in the classes is speaking. It's often these students are still in their home countries and their opportunity to practice English is minimal, if not none. So speaking, especially with C1 students, with first certificate students, we do look at a lot of use of English because it gives them the collocation, the idioms, which really amps up and builds their marks in the exam.
On your profile, there is a little CAE course advertised. Mm-hmm. What is that?
So I have a package. You can book either individual classes or you can book a package, which is 5 lessons, which are 60 minutes each. And basically, throughout those 5 lessons, we will work on the speaking elements. We will work on use of English. There is the opportunity for writing. What I see one students is I like to send them an exam maybe beforehand, before we start. Just so that I can see where their levels at, what they need to improve on. Often what they think they need to improve on isn't necessarily where me using my experience, I can really say, well, okay, well, that's not actually that bad. And maybe you should be looking more at this. Along with the package, they do get a lot of complete exams that they can complete in their own time. As well, I think it's nothing. I mean, if you want to get better at something, you have to do that specific thing. And that specific thing for those students is exams.
So what advice would you have for somebody who's just starting on italki?
Try lots of different teachers.
Oh, really?
A lot of teachers offer trial classes, 30 minutes for a really, really low price. And I think if I was a student on italki, I'm not currently, but if I was learning a language, I would try a lot of different teachers. Different teachers have different styles. You know, my style might not work for somebody else. And I really think, really test out the waters. It's such a good platform to meet so many different teachers that if you're a student learning in Spain, for example, you have maybe a couple of language schools. You don't have the option to try so many different teachers. You get thrown in a class and you have to deal with that teacher, whether you like them or not. So really try that. And also maybe write down some questions that you have before you start the lesson. So that you can ask the teacher and really try and think about what it is you want to improve on. Is it your speaking? Is it your writing? Because that really helps the teacher to go forward and move forward in your classes.
Maybe a couple of CAE specific questions. Like for you, what's the hardest part of CAE to teach?
To teach?
Yeah.
It's a really good question. Okay, to teach the listening, because some people might argue with me, but you can't teach listening. Listening is a learned, you train your ear. And I can certainly give people tips on how to focus on specific parts and listening for certain words. But in terms of teaching it as a skill, it's very, very difficult. The writing is okay. And I think that the writing, the use of English and the listening go really nicely together, because what the examiners want from you, or what I've been told the examiners want, is a high level of vocabulary and a high level of grammar. So that means collocations, that means idioms, that means phrasal verbs, and they expect you to use them. And I think that they all together, they combine to make quite a fun, they're quite fun to teach. They're quite enjoyable. And I think students underestimate how important they are in the exam. That's a really long-winded answer to your question.
That's great. I completely agree. One thing that I've been thinking about more and more recently is how to take something from your passive knowledge and into your active vocabulary to actually use it. How do you go about that?
Wow. Question.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I have the answer. That's why I'm asking you. It's like,
I mean, I know that it can feel really uncomfortable for students to try and force that. I have a Spanish student at the moment, and she knows it. She knows the idioms. She knows those phrasal verbs, and it's just trying to force them into it. I think the way that I found, if I could call it successful, I don't know if I can, is by forcing them into your writing. And almost having learned, it sounds really manufactured, but having learned phrases that you can put in anywhere. I think if you get used to writing them and forcing them into your writing, then perhaps you can bring them out into your speaking. I have like certain buzz phrases that I give students to open up their speaking, which I think I know from having this boss who was an examiner told me, examiners, like, if they hear that, they're like, okay, that's really great. So I have some certain buzz phrases to open up speaking, and it definitely gets the examiner's attention.
Give us
one. You can start with something good.
Give us one buzz phrase for free, and then they can sign up for lessons. One buzz phrase
for free. Okay. Well, in the speaking part 3 and part 4, when they're with their partner, something instead of "shall I start," something like "shall I kick off?" "Shall I get the ball rolling?"
Yeah.
I mean, you give a student goes into an exam and starts like that, the examiner hears 20 times maybe that day, "Shall I start?"
Yeah.
So if you can get something a little bit different, hopefully now not everyone's going to use it. But I really think it can, the examiner maybe wakes up a little bit and goes, okay, nice. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Those high level words, you really go, oh.
Yeah.
Ah. Yeah. All right. Good one. Thanks for that. So basically, I think this italki thing is a great deal. It's well priced. There's thousands of teachers to choose from. You're sure to find someone that you like and get on with. Many of the teachers have CAE or FCE experience, which is what my visitors are looking for. What would you say to someone who is like uncertain about this whole italki deal?
To reassure them?
Yeah.
You're sitting in front of your computer looking or certainly talking to a teacher. That teacher, if they're worth their salt, will have prepared something. And there is no get out for the teacher. Apart from just switching off the computer, which nobody would do. You're put on the spot as a teacher, and for a teacher it can be intimidating, but I think that it certainly makes you a better teacher. So I would say to a student is, don't be afraid to ask those difficult questions. Your teacher might not always know the answer right then and there, but they are very aware that you have transferred those credits. You're prepared. You're sitting there. You've paid for this class. They deserve everything that you can give. And I think from my experience of teaching in language schools, as a teacher, you can get away with not doing a lot. You can, when there is a class of 10 or 14 students, you can, as the teacher, you can hang back if you don't want to. On italki, there's nowhere to hide for the teacher. So you should be expecting the best, and you should be expecting a good lesson, certainly.
Okay.
Terrified teachers, maybe, but I think that's true. I think that I think teachers are really aware that they're one-on-one, and it maybe makes them step up their game.
Okay, yeah. I didn't think about it like that. Yeah, because I can imagine some people around the world, they don't know anything about this website. They don't know if it's real. They don't know if the teachers are legitimate.
I can give them one reassurance on that.
Okay.
When you apply, you have to apply to be a professional teacher on italki. So when you make that application, you have to send in your certificates and you have to send in your experience. So and it took about 10 days for everything of mine to be checked, and it's checked with them. They check it against Cambridge. I have a CELTA, for example, so they checked it with Cambridge. It's legitimate. You can't get around it. And if there is something not right, then you will not be approved as a professional teacher. There is something called professional tutoring or something like that, but and you don't need a certificate for that.
I think it's called community tutor.
That's it. Sorry. Yeah.
Right.
And then it's just conversation practice. But as a professional teacher, you need the qualification and you have to prove it.
All right.
So so that should reassure anyone who thinks that maybe it's not legit.
Okay, so you get a professional teacher with qualifications who has prepared for the lesson and who can't say, hey, read this while I send WhatsApp messages to my friends.
Exactly, yeah, which I'm not saying happens, but I've certainly heard of and seen teachers who, I just got my class to read something for 30 minutes and, that can't happen.
Okay, so if students are interested in having lessons with you, would you encourage them to write to you, or are you full now?
I would certainly. I have my status switched to unavailable simply because I am looking for students who want more exam preparation. I have a lot of general like business students, so. For me personally, if you write me a message, even though it says I'm unavailable at the moment and you're preparing for a PET or a FCE or a CAE exam, then certainly write to me. And I'm definitely open to those exam preparation classes.
You prefer doing the exam classes to the general classes?
It's just what I feel really comfortable in, and I have so many resources that are just underused, and my experience is that. So please feel free to write to me. You can send me a message and we will try and figure out what it is you want.
All right, great. Thanks a lot for your time, Sophie.
No problem at all. Thank you very much.
See you. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.